Hello, Radiant One, and welcome to Spiritual Business with Mariaestela, the show and podcast for soul-driven, heart-based spiritual entrepreneurs, business owners, and Magdalenes rising, ready to expand and wanting to lead with love in business and life. I am your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Mariaestela, and it is my deep honor, my great pleasure, and joy to share this episode with you. If you feel the deep stirrings of something new asking to be born through you, go to mariaestela.com/DCIA to download the free guide, Divine Clarity and Inspired Action, that I've created for you. Divine Clarity and Inspired Action will help you to connect deeply with your divine feminine essence of gnosis, wisdom, knowledge, and intuition, as well as activate your divine masculine essence of action, creation, expansion, and building, so that you may experience the satisfaction, the joy, and the liberation that comes from bringing to life that which you are here to birth, while being, doing, and living your soul's divine purpose. On my website, you will also find show notes, transcripts, and previous episodes. Hello, Radiant One, and welcome into this episode in which I am going to be diving into, it's a topic that's been coming up recently in a couple of sessions, and I actually did think that I'd shared it before, but I'm not sure that I have, so bear with me. Never mind, I do believe that this message can be shared over and over again, because we need to really hear it, not only hear it, but we need to really integrate it and allow for ourselves to be, I suppose, driven by it, because it brings so much joy and satisfaction and liberation with it. And it's what I like to call share your Cray. It's where you share essentially what you or part of you believe to be far out or maybe even crazy. Very often when we begin to step outside or step up and begin to share ourselves within our businesses, there's that fear, and that comes in different volumes, I suppose. And the more out there you are and the more visible you become, it may show up in different forms or in different formats and in different places. But one of the things that I like to support my clients with is to speak their truth and to essentially share their Cray, because there is nothing more liberating, no more satisfying, more empowering than you knowing your truth, speaking your truth, and being your truth, essentially. Because when you are, and I want to, start by saying that when I say share your Cray, I don't think that you are Cray. I don't think that I don't think that we are Cray. It's essentially just the tiny voice within our mind that are telling us that this sounds so far out or this sounds so Cray. To me, that's usually a sign that you are on the right track to connecting with your clients, to connecting with those that you are here to serve. Because once you know and find really what your Cray is, the more the more you start to use that, the better your clients, the ones that you're here to serve, the better those can actually hear you. Because when you begin to lift the layers or to lift the veils that have been muting you or constricting you, making you conform into what you believe is the norm, like how you have to show up in business or in your business, how you have to speak. And because we look out and then we see how everyone else is doing it, and somehow that gets translated into how the way you should be doing it. And rather than allowing that to serve you as an inspiration, it can become a barrier. It can become a hindrance, because I am not like that person, hence I cannot speak this, or I am not that person, and therefore no one wants to hear what I have to say, which is so not true. What I have discovered, both through myself, but especially also through my clients, is that the more you quote unquote dare to speak your truth, and when I say dare to speak your truth, there are things that there are certain sentences that you say, there are certain ways that you think, there are certain ways that words that come up that you may not currently be using in your official language, whether it be in your social media post, on your blog, your newsletters, in your videos, your podcast, any form of expression. You may not be using that because of whatever. And with this episode, what I really want to do is to inspire you to have a look at that and see where you are holding back out of a fear that if you say these things or do these things or use these words, that somehow the world will turn against you and no one will want to work with you. Because based on my experience, as I said, both in my personal experience, but especially for my clients, which come from a wide range of different modalities, different ways, what I see in them is that when they begin to use those words, when they begin to show up that way, miracles occur, magic happen, and you actually you find yourself satisfied, happy, and content based on something that is within you rather than something that is outside of yourself. For different reasons. Number one, speaking your truth is liberating. It is, it's liberating to know that you can be yourself at all times, and there is a deep satisfaction or deep joy in just being you. Number two, it's empowering, because once you start to share your truth, like your real truth, and speak those words and those sentences and whatever it is that is within your heart, that empowers others. Like that is what you're here to do: empowering others, inspiring others, supporting others, healing others, helping others, coaching others, mentoring others. Because we're all part of that whole, that, we're part of that, that uplifting of all. And it is satisfying and it is satisfying because when you do begin to speak your truth, when you share yourself fully as you are, like I said, those that you are here to serve can actually hear you, and they begin to show up. And working with people, beautiful, radiant souls that that are in such deep resonance with you on the same level, the same vibration, the same frequency, it is just, it's just deeply satisfying. I often find myself sitting in sessions and pinching myself thinking, am I really working with this amazing, incredible soul, having a human experience, supporting them, expanding and growing their businesses, and just seeing the transformation that happens and the liberation that they go through, the expansion they go through, the growth. And I know that is, partly because of the work that I've already done. I have had clients where it wasn't at the same level of resonance. And I can just say that the more I speak my truth, the more I use those words that I thought were cray initially, the more, the word is, the more satisfying it truly is. And to give you an example, and I had to go back and dive deep because this was probably 8 or 9 years ago. I didn't jump all in straight away, and I don't necessarily think it's about taking baby steps. I like to say you're welcome, or you're allowed to take baby steps, because it's an expansion from your heart, from love, and sometimes when we jump into the deep end, it can be hard to swim, and if you start by walking out into water, you can get aground and then feel the ocean, start to swim. I was just in Greece last week swimming in the ocean. I think that's why I have this analogy of swimming, because that's essentially what it is. But some of the words that for me were the word God, also because the word God has a very particular meaning for some people, but for me is essentially all that is, all that we are, all that you are, all that I am, all the energy that connects us all, the energy that is in anything and everything. And then words like divine. I know that when I started the blog, or not the blog, the podcast, the Magdalene Voices, Magdalene was hugely, very loaded for me. Mariaestela. Letting people know that I believed in God was something that I initially thought people would consider me to be batshit crazy. And maybe they do. Maybe they just don't show up, or maybe they don't tell me. And that's fine for me now. I'm not trying to stuff anything down people's throats. But I also see how, like I said, the people that now show up in my business, the people that show up as clients, there is such a deep alignment and resonance and vibration and frequency with those that because they essentially know me. I'm not hiding who I am, or what I am, or what I believe in. And it actually spills over to anything. So if you're finding yourself feeling held back by fears in terms of what you voice or what you speak, chances are that actually is spilled over into other areas of your life. Maybe you're holding back in terms of your family or your friends. Maybe you're holding back on social media. Maybe your visibility is not where you would like it to be. And so with this episode, like I said, I want to inspire you to ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Ask yourself, what are you afraid that people would find out about you? Whether it's, if you believe in something, or whether it is a knowing you have, or whether it is a combination of tools that you want to use. There can be many different ways that this can show up. And then I want to encourage you, inspire you, empower you to take just one step. I remember the very first thing I did. There are two things. Number one was I actually, the word God, I remember it showed up in a word feud. It's like a game on your phone, and it showed up, and I actually shared that on, I think it was Facebook or so. Yeah, it was probably Facebook. And someone actually did comment on it. And that actually led into a deeper conversation, which was really interesting. And it gave me the opportunity to find out where I stood and who I was in terms of that. And not from a bad place, but it served. And then secondly, what I did, and this was a few years later, I actually sent out a newsletter saying, I'm a God lover and a Jesus freak, which was my kind of probably jumping into the deep end. But I just had enough. I was like, this is not going to, I won't allow this to hold me back. If I'm scared of this, then I'm just going to, shout it out to the world. And the funny thing was, I actually had people coming back to me and saying, I am too. So there was a resonance there, and I didn't, nothing happened. It wasn't like the world didn't come to an end, and all of I don't know what I'd imagined, but that was it. So yeah, I'm hoping that with this episode, I've inspired you to be, quote unquote, as cray as possible, go as far out and as wide as possible, allow yourself the liberating, the empowering, and the satisfying joy and contentment of speaking your truth, living your truth, being your truth, because the world needs more of us that are doing that. Because by doing that, by showing up that way, you allow others to do the same or to be the same. And that is how love is spread in the world. It's a ripple effect. It ripples out from you, and you are then supporting the uplifting, the unveiling, the awakening, and the transformation and the healing of our world. That's what I have for you today. I love you. Take care. That is what I had for you in today's episode of Spiritual Business with Mariaestela. I hope it served you well. For all of the deets on the details, click the link in the description. And if you enjoyed this episode, support its message by sharing it with a friend or on social media, or leave me a comment or review. God bless.